Australia's story begins long before recorded history on a land shaped by time and tradition. For over 65,000 years, Indigenous Australians have been the caretakers of this continent. Their connection to the land is deep. Every mountain, river, and star is woven into their dreaming. Survival here meant more than finding food. It meant understanding the land's rhythms and respecting its spirit. The first peoples developed complex societies, rich languages, and spiritual traditions that endure today. Their knowledge, passed down through generations, is etched into the rocks and sung in the wind. This is not just ancient history, it's a living legacy present in the languages, art, and stories of Indigenous communities. To understand Australia, we must begin with this truth. The land's first chapter is one of resilience, wisdom, and belonging. The story of Australia is a human story of adaptation, endurance, and profound connection. The legacy of the world's first astronomers, artists, and navigators lives on. It is the soul of the nation, the foundation for all that followed. When we speak of Australia, we honour this ancient heritage. It is a story that continues to shape the nation's identity, and it is where every journey across this land truly begins. Indigenous Australian culture is a tapestry of knowledge passed down through story, song, dance, and art. Songlines map the land, guiding people across vast distances and connecting sacred sites. This was a sophisticated system, managing resources, law, and kinship, ensuring survival for millennia. Fire stick farming shaped the landscape, demonstrating ecological wisdom and sustainable living. Art was more than decoration. It was a sacred record, a map of the spiritual and physical world. Over 250 language groups thrived, each with unique customs and traditions. This diversity created a continent of nations linked by trade and ceremony. Complex kinship systems governed society, fostering cooperation and identity. The richness of this culture is one of humanity's great achievements. It is not a relic, but a living heritage that continues to inspire and define Australia. The First Peoples' connection to country remains at the heart of the nation. Their culture endures, vibrant and strong. In 1788, the arrival of the First Fleet marked a turning point for this land. The British claimed Australia as terra nullius, ignoring the presence and rights of its First Peoples. Disease, dispossession, and conflict followed, devastating Indigenous communities. The newcomers imposed new laws, language, and religion, disrupting ancient ways of life. Children were taken, languages suppressed, and ceremonies banned, causing trauma that echoes today. This was not a meeting of equals, but an invasion that left deep scars. Acknowledging this painful history is essential for understanding Australia's story. The collision of worlds created wounds that have yet to fully heal. Facing this truth is the first step toward reconciliation. The journey to coexistence is ongoing, and the story is still being written. By the late 1800s, 6 British colonies began to unite, seeking a shared future. In 1901, the Commonwealth of Australia was born, creating a new nation under a federal system. For many, federation was a moment of optimism and progress, but the new constitution excluded Indigenous Australians. They were not counted nor given the right to vote. The laws continued policies of control and segregation, formalising exclusion. For the First Peoples, federation brought no equality or recognition. The nation's birth was a milestone for some, but a moment of continued marginalisation for others. Understanding federation means holding both truths: unity for settlers, exclusion for Indigenous Australians. The work of building a nation for all its people was only just beginning. The story of Australia's nationhood remains incomplete. Today, Australia is a vibrant, multicultural nation shaped by waves of migration and ancient heritage. People from every continent have made Australia home, enriching its culture and society. Multiculturalism is now central to Australian identity, celebrated in daily life. Alongside this, the journey toward reconciliation continues. Key moments like the 1967 referendum and the national apology mark progress, but the path is ongoing. Education is changing, with schools now teaching the full sweep of Australia's history. Honouring Indigenous voices means placing their stories and knowledge at the heart of the national conversation. The story of Australia is not finished. It belongs to everyone who calls this land home. But it must always begin with its first peoples. Their ancient heritage is the nation's foundation. Building a just and unified Australia means listening, learning, and walking together. The future depends on embracing the fullness of our shared past.